Hi everyone, and welcome to Suffolk Public Library's Get Creative for the month of March. We're going to be doing some charcoal sketching today. If you've never used charcoal, it's going to give you a really soft, a soft look, and it's very blendable. So it will get your hands messy. Do be aware. Make sure that your space is set up so that you're not getting anything messy that you don't want it to be. But we're going to be using willow charcoal today. There are different types of charcoal, and pressed charcoal looks a little bit more like a pencil and is going to give you a little bit sharper lines. But since we're just playing around with blending today, a willow charcoal gives you a lot of ability to blend any of those lines out. So you can find something from around the house, find a sheet of paper. It's pretty common to just use a black paper or a white paper. You can also use a toned paper, so either a gray or any other color if you'd like. But what we'll work with right now is just the white, and then you can grab something from around your house that is your subject. We can kind of work from here. So I have my apple, and you're going to hold your charcoal very similar to a pencil. The only other things that you'll really need are erasers. I have two types here. This is just basically a regular eraser, what you would find on the back of a pencil, or like the pink pearl. This one is a kneaded eraser, so it has a little bit of flexibility to it, and it's really good for picking up all of the fine pieces of charcoal. If you have either one of these, it'll be great. The kneaded is going to be really fantastic, but it's a little bit more specialty and you might not have it on hand. We can make either one work. So as you are starting to sketch, you can pick something. We've got something super simple today for just an apple. From my angle, I'll be drawing it, but it'll look a little bit different from your side. But you're just basically starting with your overall shape. And you can be really rough, really loose with this, because we are going to have a lot of ability to mess around with this. I recommend, if you've got tissues or paper towels, have those handy, partially for the mess, partially for your hands, but also they're helpful for blending. So you're kind of working on your general shape here. I'm going to mark kind of where my shadow is as well, the shadow that's falling on the table. And for me, it's mostly this side. You're going to work you can press decently hard. I would say you'll feel the willow charcoal, it feels very light. You don't want to press too hard on it, because then it will snap on you, and you don't really want that. But just to show you how easily it blends, this is just with a finger. It will come out, and you can move it upwards, even into places that we haven't touched really. So you can feel free to layer. From my side, it has a pretty sharp shadow, really starting around the top edge here. I'm going to layer in quite a lot. This technique that I'm using right now is just hatching. You may have heard before cross-hatching. It is a similar concept, but slightly different, just in the technique of how you are laying things down. Hatching, regular hatching, is just doing straight lines, or just doing lines that follow the curve. And cross-hatching is you're also putting other lines in an opposite direction. So I'm just using the excess charcoal to fill in my lighter areas, knowing that I can always come in. I'm going a little bit lighter in here on the areas where I want more shadow, but I want it to be able to blend a little bit easier. That way I don't have quite as strong of a sharp line left over. And then this is a great way to show what we can do with some of our erasers. So if you have a spot that you meant for it to be a shadow and it got a little bit messier, you can just bring in, this is what the kneaded eraser looks like, lightening up some of those spots. And then you can soften that pretty easily. And then if there are any super strong spots, the regular eraser comes through pretty well, but it leaves a little sharper of a line. So it's really up to you, up to what you have available to you. And I have at the ready also just a white pencil that we can go in towards the end and add in some more of those highlights. This is a really great technique if you want to work with a toned paper as well. If you want to try and keep your hands from getting super messy, you can always wrap your finger in your tissue paper for blending. Kind of blend out some of my fingerprints there. And as you're blending, you can try to pick up some of the charcoal and move it around the space. Now I'm going to kind of work in on this area, the sort of little indent in the top of the apple where the stem comes from. And kind of, I'm seeing it from quite a bit above, so it's near the center versus in this version, it's quite higher up. I'm blending it. And then just deepening my shadows in some of the spots. If you're ever unsure about what colors should be what areas need to be darker or lighter, an easy trick you can do is just taking a picture with your phone and then editing that picture to be black and white. It can help you, especially as you're getting started and as you're a beginner. It's a good way to get used to what tones look like, and it strips away the distraction of color. So a technique that I like to use for shadows like this, that are pretty diffuse and we don't want a ton of streaks in them, is by going onto either a corner, if this is just truly a sketch pad, or a separate paper, and putting a good amount down, bearing down pretty decently, and then using this, picking this up, and just diffusing with what we've basically created, like a loose charcoal. Or you can go in and fill in your shadow. With most shadows like this, you'll have an area that isn't quite as dark that's right next to it. So remember to leave somewhat of like a halo of kind of medium tone shadow. use this little extra to darken this just a bit. And I also want to have my shadow of the stem. Even though it's not super, super strong, I do want a little bit of that shadow there. And then just so that we're making sure that we're following the shape. You want to leave any of these like strong contour lines that you're planning on leaving dark. Leave those towards the end of your sketching, just because if they get smudged, that's kind of the end of them. They don't tend to recover well after that. So you can see it's a quick version, but it's a pretty easy and very playful, very messy kind of medium. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with as you guys are doing them. We do have registration available for any of your supplies. You'll get your charcoal, which is the biggest thing that you really need, and a few sheets of paper to work with if you register for that supply kit through Suffolk Public Library, just on our calendar, and we will see you next time.